Success takes resilience. We all know we don't just move from point A to point Z. There's all of those turns and twists in between. And in the world that we're living in today, we need coaching and resilience more than ever because we're dealing with more than ever.
So our friend Valorie Burton.
Valorie Burton is here to help us get through it. She's the author of Life Coaching for Successful Women. Valorie, we need you more than ever.
Hi, I'm Valorie Burton, and I would love the opportunity to work with you. I use coaching and positive psychology research to help people be happier and more resilient. I customize a message for your audience, combining scientific insights, storytelling, and humor so that they walk away with practical takeaways they can use right away to navigate challenges and change, lead with more confidence, and increase their well-being at work and in their personal lives.
How far we can go, whether or not you reach that vision, is determined by how much you are willing to grow. And we leave out the critical piece, which is that you don't just need performance goals, you need growth goals. Fear is going to show up when you stretch outside of your comfort zone. The bigger question is, will you let the fear get in the driver's seat and make decisions for you? When you think about where you are with your vision, the question is, where do you keep getting stuck? Is it the fear that pops up? Is it a relationship issue that pops up? Is it a confidence issue? Is it in your leadership? Wherever you get stuck, that's your growth gap. And if you understand your growth gap, you can get very intentional about closing the gap between where you are and where you really want to be. What is the opportunity in the midst of the challenge you're going through? You may not have chosen the challenge, but if rather than looking at the obstacle in front of you, you look at the bigger vision of where you want your life to go, it will pull you forward.
Over the years, I've had the opportunity to inspire audiences at hundreds of events for organizations including Apple, Verizon, NASA, Google, Cisco, Coca-Cola, and so many others.
So do we have any joy bringers at Heartland? Any joy bringers? We've got about 20, 21 joy bringers. The rest of y'all just bring everybody back down to earth. I guess that's what you do. Okay, we can't have everybody running around going, what's the best thing that happened to you today? I understand, okay. We all have a different mission. My point is, get clear about what your mission is. How are people's lives better when they cross paths with you? When you get clear about that, it answers a lot of questions. It becomes like a compass.
More than 2 decades ago, I had an epiphany about my life's work, helping people build resilience so that they can close the growth gaps to experiencing their potential. It led me to write more than a dozen books so far, go back to graduate school to study applied positive psychology at the University of Pennsylvania, and then found the Coaching and Positive Psychology Institute, where we have trained coaches and leaders in coaching skills in all 50 states in the U.S. and more than 24 countries around the world. At the core, all of it is about personal growth.
My background is in applied positive psychology, which is just the study of what happens when things go right, what happens when we perform at our highest levels, what happens when we are happy. And a growth mindset means that you believe where you are today is just a starting point.
Most organizations understand the importance of financial capital and human capital when it comes to meeting goals, but too many forget the importance of psychological capital. Does your team have the flexibility, adaptability, and mental toughness to navigate challenges and change? It's necessary. And as individuals, we need to understand that we're not just going through challenges, we're growing through challenges, and there's an opportunity in that. I am looking forward to the possibility of inspiring your audience with practical strategies that lead to meaningful change and helping you create an event that's fun and transformative. I have always been intrigued by what successful people do differently. Whenever I've heard people say, oh, well, that's really, really hard, or most people don't succeed at this or that, that never deterred me. I was always curious, okay, if 95% are struggling at this, what are the 5% doing who are succeeding? Welcome to the first episode of the Successful Women Think Differently podcast. I'm Valorie Burton, and I'm so excited that you are with me. We're going to talk today about what distinguishes the most successful women, those who achieve their vision, rooted in their purpose, conquer goals that might feel really difficult, but tap into their sense of purpose and their gifts and their talents and the things that are really important to them. What distinguishes that woman from the average person, from someone who has similar gifts, similar talents, perhaps similar resources and background, but somehow finds themselves falling short of similar goals? We've all seen it before, where you look at two people and you think, wow, this person isn't much more talented. They might not even be more talented. And yet I see them succeeding at higher levels. There is one thing that distinguishes them, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, in this very first episode, I'm going to share a little bit of my background with you because I want to get you to get to know me. I'm excited you're listening, but I know you want to know, who am I listening to? And why is this her topic? We're also going to talk about how I define success. When I talk about successful, what am I talking about? And we're going to talk about how you might want to create your own definition, or maybe even adapt the one that I use. And of course, we're going to talk about what separates successful women from others. So be sure to stick around to the end, because I'm going to talk about some very key decisions that really highlight that distinction. So let's dive in. I have always been intrigued by what successful people do differently. Whenever I've heard people say, oh, well, that's really, really hard, or most people don't succeed at this or that, that never deterred me. I was always curious, okay, if 95% are struggling at this, what are the 5% doing who are succeeding? I grew up in a military family. I was born on an Air Force base in North Florida. We lived in West Germany when I was growing up, moved to Colorado when I was in the 5th grade, and really still considered Denver to be where I grew up. But I spent all my summers down south, where my parents are from, in South Carolina, and now I live in Atlanta. Along the way, I also lived in California, where I finished community college before transferring to Florida State University. Then I lived in Dallas, then Maryland, just outside of DC, and I have been in Atlanta for the last 13 years. I've had a lot of experiences, not just of success, a lot of failure. I spent my first year of college as a cadet at the U.S. Air Force Academy, and that was a tough experience for me. I spent the entire year on academic probation before figuring out this isn't my path. That was hard. Because I had failed there, and failing as I had made my parents so proud. My dad, the first time when I let him know I had gotten into the academy, was the first time I ever heard my dad cry. And so deciding to leave was hard. And I found myself overcompensating. I don't know about you, but for a lot of people, definitely myself included, when you fail at something, you can feel like you have something to prove, even if nobody else is paying attention. And that's what I did. I rushed through college. I went to 3 colleges in 3 states in 3 years and graduated at 20. But when you're overcompensating, when you get to your finish line, it's never enough. You'll just keep pushing it out. And that's what I did. I went to grad school, and I rushed through that too. And woohoo, at 21, I had a master's degree in journalism, and I had just started to enjoy my journey. But I picked that up and headed straight into my career, moved to Dallas, where I was in public relations, started my own PR firm at 24 years old. And within a few years, though, I realized, I'm good at this. I'm a communicator, but this isn't my passion. And I wanted to know what I was here for. And I just started praying about it. And it took a couple of years when I had an epiphany one day in a Barnes & Noble store during a journalism convention in Seattle. And the epiphany that I was to inspire people, women especially, to live more fulfilling lives, that I would do it through writing and speaking. I was 26 years old. What had happened was I was running my business, and I found that I was just not wanting to do the work. Like when you have your own company and it's going well, and people want to give you, have you do proposals for new business, and you're like, oh, more business. I didn't want more business because it wasn't the business that I wanted to be in. And I knew that wasn't a good place. But when I had that epiphany in that bookstore, and I knew it was God, it wasn't an audible voice. I just sensed it. It felt like the Holy Spirit saying, this is what you are here for. You're here to inspire people. There are so many people like you who don't enjoy what they do, who have no idea what they are here for. And every single one of you is here for a reason. And so it was pivotal. I remember the exact day. And when I had that epiphany, I remember running back to my hotel room and writing it down. And within 3 weeks, I started writing my first book. It felt like the words were just flowing from the tip of my pen as I wrote. I actually wrote the first book all longhand, believe it or not. I still have the yellow legal pads that I wrote my first book on. I self-published it, but I had a vision. I knew I wanted a big publisher to pick it up. That was the goal. And that was the goal I reached. And so that epiphany was in 1999, amazingly. I published the book within a few months, wrote it in like 2.5 months, published it in a month, started selling it, had my eye on a big publisher, and had that opportunity come about 7 months later when Random House bought the rights to that first book and released their own version of it in 2001. And since then, I've been on fire. I've written 13 books. I went back to grad school a second time when I discovered that, all the writing and speaking I was doing and the inspiration, I had discovered the field of coaching. And I began wondering, is there an academic foundation for this? Like, is there science to back up the study of human flourishing and what makes us successful, what helps us to be happier and to be more fulfilled. And that's when I discovered applied positive psychology. So I went back to school and earned a graduate degree from the University of Pennsylvania and began training personal and executive coaches in positive psychology-based coaching. And started my company, the Coaching and Positive Psychology Institute, in 2009. And we have trained coaches in every state in the US. And at this point, I think we're at 26 countries around the world. Along the way, I've had the opportunity to speak for hundreds of organizations all over the world. I think I've spoken at this point on 4 continents in just about every state. And had the opportunity along the way to do a lot of media. Never became a journalist, but certainly have had lots of opportunities on the Today Show and cable networks and major magazines. And most recently, over this last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to serve as the coaching mentor for Maxwell Leadership. That is John Maxwell's Maxwell Leadership Certified Team, with team members who are trainers and consultants and coaches and speakers in about 150 countries all over. And so this has been an amazing journey professionally, not always easy by any stretch. As a matter of fact, when I started out writing and speaking, and I had been in public relations, had my PR firm, I sold my business when I had that epiphany, like, this is what I'm going to do now. And I thought in 6 months, I'd be booked solid. It was probably 7 years before I was booked the way I thought that I would be. But I never regretted taking that leap of faith. When you know there's something that you're meant to do, the fear is always there. But you never regret taking a bet on yourself. And that's what I did. But there have been a lot of disappointments and dreams deferred along the way. I dealt early on in my work with my mom's brain aneurysm one evening while we were talking on the phone, marriage that ended in divorce with no kids at age 36, when I had always pictured myself like, I'm a Gen Xer and grew up on the Cosby Show and thought I would be Claire Huxtable. I really did. I thought I was going to be a lawyer with 5 kids. And there I was at 36, divorced with no kids, wondering if the vision I had of a happy marriage and family would ever come together. And I knew between coaching and the positive psychology principles that I practice and my faith as a believer that I couldn't give up on my vision. Just as I took that leap of faith for moving forward in a career that I knew was based on my purpose, I knew that if in my heart this was my true desire, I believed I could have the desires of my heart, but it was hard. It was a lot of tears and a lot of wondering, am I being silly to actually believe that I can have this vision that I really want? But I decided I'd rather feel silly and I'd rather risk disappointment than give up on the dream. Welcome, welcome. I'm Valorie Burton. I am CEO of the Coaching and Positive Psychology Institute, which I founded, I cannot believe, 14 years ago now. And I'm just excited about you joining me and joining L. Michelle Smith today. We're going to have a really great conversation. And we love having these. We call them Coach Training Intensive preview calls because we do the Coach Training Intensive 4 times a year. We love being able to just celebrate Coaching Week. In fact, I think it's International Coaching Week. And it's a powerful way for us to talk through all of the opportunities of coaching and to talk with someone who's been there and done that on this coaching journey, and their coaching journey is flourishing. I love sharing these stories, and it's even more special today because this is someone I have known for if I say how long we've known each other, then we're kind of giving away some things, but it's more than a quarter century. I cannot believe that. But anyway, so let me just kind of dive in for where we are. I would love to know where you all are. Okay, before I dive in with Michelle, I would love to hear, where are you joining us from? Where are you joining us from? Just type it in the chat. Would love to see that. I am outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And El Michelle is outside of, well, are you still out? You're outside of Dallas, right?
That's right.
The Metroplex, as they call it, my old stomping ground.
Right.
Awesome.
Somewhere
Mary,
between Dallas and Fort Worth.
Dallas, Fort Worth, right. Mary, I see you in Canada. Yep. Turquoise, you're here in Atlanta. Adrian in Kansas City, Kansas, not Missouri. Awesome. Jennifer in Maryland. We got North Carolina, Boston, Georgia, Fairbanks, Alaska. Y'all, I am trying so hard to get to Alaska. It's my last state. So this is on my life list to get to all 50 states. Alaska's the last one for both me and my husband. So we will get there, hopefully this year. I see you there, Larry in Bahrain. Wow, so good to see you. Mirjam in Egypt. Amazing. I love how the internet connects us all. Arizona, Washington, more North Carolina, DC, Philly, Alabama, Connecticut, Chicago. Oh, yes, Virginia, DeKalb. I see you, Michelle, New Jersey. Excellent. And more Dallas. So I'd also like to know how many of you have considered coach training? How many of you have considered it? Some of you have already been through it. If you've been through it, tell us that. If you're thinking about becoming a coach, or you're just trying to figure out this coaching thing, let us know that. I see Turks and Caicos. Sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Sophie, trying to find a program. Well, we're glad that you are joining us today. I remember going through that process. I'm one of those people, Michelle, I don't know if you're like this too, but I do a lot of research. Sometimes I get stuck in the research where I am thinking, planning, researching, getting all that stuff, and then I do it some more and some more because I want to make the absolute right decision. I see you just finished the coaching intensive. Yep, excellent, Adrian. Trying to get involved. Looking at it at a later date, Agatha. Angelique, you've been through my program with Maxwell Leadership, and you're interested in CaPP. I'm so glad you're here. Many of you know I'm the coaching mentor for Maxwell Leadership, which is John Maxwell, and have been able to create an entire program with them that's all on demand. And many of you ask, and we often answer, how CaPP is different. CaPP is different in part because our program is ICF accredited. It's also live, which is a part of what you need if you decide to go on for an ICF credential. But what we've created in Maxwell Leadership really is awesome. And I love all of you Maxwell Leadership certified team members. Excellent, Tamara. I'm seeing all of you. Yep. Larry, I hope you're enjoying those coaching modules. Excellent. Natasha, you've already graduated from our program. Yep. Excellent. Jennifer, I see all of you. So if you all have questions as we're talking today, please kind of make note of those, because we will do some Q&A at the end of our conversation. So I started coaching 22 years ago. Really, I discovered my mission. I had been trying to figure out what it was. My prior career was in public relations. I had my own public relations agency in Dallas, where I lived for 8.5 years. I was good at it. Communication is something that tends to come naturally for me, but I thought there was something else I was meant to be doing, and just had an epiphany that I was supposed to be inspiring people to live more fulfilling lives, that I'd do it through writing and speaking. I know that, everybody doesn't have an epiphany, but I had an epiphany in 1999 while I was at the NABJ conference. That's the National Association of Black Journalists. It was their unity convention that year. Had this epiphany. I started writing and speaking, and being that I was in PR and dealing a lot with the media, I kept getting these opportunities, and they wanted to call me something, because, the media has to give you a title, and they kept calling me a life coach, and I kept arguing with them. And I thought, this keeps coming up. Let me kind of look into what this is about. For me, when I went through my first coach training, which was with the late Thomas Leonard, who's considered the founder of the life coaching profession, he was absolutely amazing. When I finally did that, it took me a couple of years of skepticism about what coaching was and why it was necessary and all of those things. Some of you might be skeptics like I was. When I did that, I immediately knew I had found my people. I realized there were others that shared that same passion for transformation, for helping people in this very unique way. I also realized that it was the one-on-one of what I was writing and speaking about. And that really leads me to introducing my guest today that I think you're going to really enjoy learning from. So I literally I took a leap, a big leap. I sold my PR business. I thought that I would get everything up and running in like 6 months, because I'm super optimistic. And I just went forward with the writing and the speaking. I did get a book deal. That was part of my goal. I self-published the book. Then I got a deal for that first book with Random House. And then I transitioned out of PR. And as I was doing that, having so much respect for public relations and what it means when a third party, a media entity, invites you as a guest or writes a story about you, I thought, I need that for myself. Who do I go to, right? Even though I'm a PR person. And so a couple of years earlier, a mentor of mine, who was a PR director for a Fortune 500 company, had introduced me to a woman named L. Michelle Smith, who is now launching into her own PR firm. She is actually the first person who got me an interview on CNN. That was 2002. She made an introduction that led to me writing a monthly column for Heart and Soul magazine that went on for several years.
You're taking me back.
Yes, you probably forgot all of these things. And on top of that, she also got me a gig for a pilot for a TV show. It was like a travel TV show that had life enrichment kind of all woven into it. And since that time, there's been multiple things that that we have done together and doors that she has opened, remembering the promotion with Soft and Beautiful,
Oh, wow.
AT&T and all of this,
Yes.
anything that would make sense for an organization that she was working with that also saw this benefit from someone like me, who helps people with personal growth. Michelle has opened those doors. And so she's a friend. But it's really special when you have a friend who invests in what you do professionally. And that's exactly what happened about 5 years ago when Michelle ran across one of our ads for the Coach Training Intensive and signed up and then sent me a message. Hey, I'm doing this Coach Training Intensive. It's fascinating to me because Michelle has made this transition into coaching. She is a best-selling author. She is a certified personal and executive coach, which is our certification program for coaches that she has been through. She's a Fortune 100 advisor and CEO and founder of No Silos Communications, which is a media and consulting company.
That's what I had emailed him.
Uh-oh. That's a media and consulting company that develops high performance executive leaders, and her specialty is in women and women of color. She absolutely loves the focus on positive psychology and neuroscience informed coaching, and she is credentialed with the ICF. She is an associate certified coach, but is in process on her professional certified coach designation, which we are super excited about. And so she's got a whole host of experiences. I think many of you would be able to connect with, in part because El Michelle has had a successful career already outside of coaching, and then discovered, hey, there's something different, something more that I want to do. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Valorie, and hello to everyone around the globe. How exciting.
I know, isn't it? When we're like, it's one thing when it's at the Atlanta and the DC and Dallas,
Right, in Dallas, the usual
Chicago,
suspects,
all those
but
great
Bahrain?
places, right? But when we say Bahrain and Egypt and Turks and
Yes.
Caicos and Canada, that's always an additional boost of fun to have people from all over. And that, I think, speaks a lot to the power of coaching.